Ex cheat on me with her cousin and expected to save face? I think not. For context, it was her cousin-in-law. Let's start this story by saying this happened 12 years ago. I'm now happily married with 3 children and regret absolutely nothing. I was with my now ex for 3 years. I had noticed that she was being extremely controlling. I was expected to give every little detail of my day and tell her my schedule in advance, and if I deviated from that, she would be very upset. She chalked it up to just bad feelings she was having and shrugged it off as her paranoia for past relationships of infidelity. I had never once cheated or strayed, and I never gave her a reason to act like this. It felt unbecoming of my fiancé to act in such a way. Now this is where it gets juicy. After she had asked for my schedule to make plans, as mine tends to be more hectic than hers, I noticed she was texting someone. In my line of work, if I put in more than 40 hours, I have the ability to take time off at will as long as the work is completed at a later date. I was very good friends with a brother, and still am. We laugh about this to this day, and he actively reminds her of it. I messaged him stating I wanted to do something special for her a little bit earlier than our anniversary to make sure it was a special surprise. They both worked in the same fabrication facility. He was a fabricator and she a shipping manager. He was kind enough to let me know her schedule. That's where the discrepancy falls into place. Without my knowledge, she was foregoing overtime. She worked 12-hour shifts Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesday when she would only work half a day. She had been taking Wednesdays off right around the time that she started getting extremely controlling. Lucky for me, I had stacked several days of leisure time up, so taking a Wednesday off for me was not an issue. A few days go by, and Wednesday's here. I put on my work gear and leave for work. I was expecting her to leave as our apartment complex had 2 exits on the same road I could see directly across from a shopping center, so I parked my car near the back and waited. After about an hour, I noticed a very specific red Mustang with a specific decal on the back window. It was her cousin by marriage. I had also done my due diligence to take an old laptop, which we kept on our desk in an office area with a full view of the living room, bedroom door and bathroom plus the kitchen. I had set it up for remote access and had it alert me when the webcam noticed movement. Giving her the benefit of the doubt, I thought he may be dropping something off or coming over to assist her with something, as her family sometimes does. Sure enough, a message came through, so I remote into my laptop. He walks through the door without skipping a beat. She unbuttons his shirt and begins kissing him. I created a URL link for the live stream, and as she was preoccupied, we had a family group text and a friend group text. They were both part of it, but at the current time, they were currently indisposed and didn't look at their phones. They didn't even wait. They could have gone to the bedroom, but no, they decided to get freaky deaky right there on the couch. I sent the link off to the friend group chat and the family group chat. Within minutes, I'm getting calls non-stop from friends and family alike. There was no turning back. She was getting blown up, but she was ignoring her phone. Not until the 4th or 5th call came through did they decide to take a break. For context, the state I live in allows recording of personal property regardless of occupancy. I was the only one on the lease. She wasn't allowed to be on the lease because of poor credit. The call she had picked up was from her cousin's mother, who she was banging. She answers the phone on speaker, and I kid you not, the first words out of his mother's mouth were, "Stop effing my son." They both became rigid, and she began to stutter over her words, saying, "What are you talking about?" etc. The mother then divulged that there was a live feed of them sent out by me to her family. She grabbed every pillow off the couch and covered herself up. The cousin staggered off, trying to put on his pants and shoes, just to trip himself up and bang his head off of my coffee table, leaving it with a divot. By this time, I had made my way to the front of the apartment complex. I was there to greet the adulterer as he came out of the front exit. He froze and began to cry, apologizing profusely. I'm not going to lie. What happened afterwards wasn't my best moment, and I nearly got into legal trouble if it weren't for the fact that he was trespassing on private property. Let's just say I had a cast for 6 weeks, and he wasn't in any family photos for months. I went up to the apartment, where she was now fully clothed and crying inconsolably. I asked her if it was snot or on her face. Then I told her not to answer because it didn't matter anyway. I gave her 1 hour to remove all her belongings, as again, everything in the apartment was mine except for clothes, some makeup, and a few kitchen utensils. Her mother would not let her move in as she was just filled with embarrassment. Same for her brothers, and the cousin's mother kicked her son out. Rumors spread around our town very quickly, and for a lack of better words, she was untouchable. Number 2, baby sister takes revenge on an ex-fiancé. After reading a story about petty revenge, I was reminded of this story about my little sister, Taylor, and how we all found out that she plays a long game, and frankly, can be downright evil. Some details and factoids have been changed in order to protect the privacy of the innocent, the guilty, and the family. When Taylor, the youngest of 6 siblings, was in her second work semester, engineering co-op program, her ex-fiancé, I'll call him Derek, convinced her to move in with him instead of living with the family. They ended up renting a room in the Dean Mansion in our small town. The Dean Mansion, locally referred to as the Mansion, is an 8-room building that used to belong to a very rich family, but after it was sold, it was turned into a boarding house. Taylor and Derek rented one of the largest of 8 bedrooms with an ensuite. All other rooms, such as the kitchen and living room, were community spaces. The way the mansion worked is that there was typically only one person who held the lease, and she or he would sublet all the other rooms. As one leaser moved out, they would transfer the lease to whoever wanted the responsibility. Derek jumped at the chance, hiked up the rent by $25 and pocketed it. $25 was a lot back then. When the old leasee moved out, he took a lot of the furnishings with him, so when Taylor moved in, our grandparents happily provided bed, couch, chairs, kitchen tables, pots, pans, etc. My grandparents had a lot of stuff that they kept in what my grams called the furniture storage facility, a building that used to be part of a family-run business. At Taylor's last job, she was sent into the warehouse to get some supplies, think machine parts, safety equipment, etc. When she lifted a box down and tilted it towards her, she said dozens of mice spilled out, like a waterfall of tiny bodies. They scurried over her face, through her hair, and all down her body. She developed a fear of mice. One Friday she got home from work, and Derek was already at a party at his friend's house. He left a note telling her to come over. He had a surprise for her. Long story short, when she arrived, a wrapped box sat on the table which the now-drunk guys gave her. She was a bit taken back, but excitedly opened it. It contained several mice, some deceased. She freaked out and threw the box away and began to cry. The guy whose apartment they were in got angry, because now he had a bunch of mice in his place. Derek laughed, taunting her, telling her that she should see her face and quit being such a big baby, it was just a joke. Taylor stormed out of the place and went back to the mansion, then called the troops, her 5 brothers. Between the siblings and friends, they had 4 trucks, and everything that was Taylor's was loaded in less than an hour. She dumped all of Derek's items into a big pile in the middle of their room and left her engagement ring on the top. Afterward, she ghosted Derek. Derek stalked her for a couple of weeks until Taylor complained to our oldest brother, Bob. Now, everyone in town knew that Bob might be 6'4" and 225 pounds of muscle, but wouldn't hurt a fly. What no one knew, not even Bob, was that nobody hassled his baby sister. He had a talk with Derek, and Derek never showed his face to Taylor again, especially while he could barely see out of his blackened eyes. You would think that was where it ended. Given that for her profession, Taylor would always be around work sites and warehouses, and in constant fear of mice, Taylor had been forced to go to therapy to desensitize herself. The therapy worked well. Flash forward 32 years, and the entire clan is home for a memorial service that we've been putting off for both our parents. I now own the furniture storage facility and transformed it into my office, storage, and workshop for my small construction company. My daughter is the office manager and a softie. Taylor and her family had been in town for a week when one day my daughter handed her an Amazon box. Then Taylor corralled me into being her getaway driver. She brought the box and delivered it to Derek's car, which was parked in the local pub's parking lot. It was unlocked, so consequently I wasn't needed to use my tools. Then we waited. When Derek came out of the pub and jumped into his car, he found the box and happily opened it. A lot of screaming ensued, and when he opened the door, several small bodies spilled out and scurried away. He leapt out, swiping at his clothes and yelling. My baby sister leaned against my truck, watching it all with a grin, and said, "Quit being such a big baby, Derek. It's just a joke."